Hi and welcome to part 5 of the horse nose tutorial. So we're going to continue in this session to work around here. Just finished building up our layers and adding our tonal values in, and then just basically see how it works in from there. Sort of having just sort of stepped away from last time round, I wasn't sort of like 100% sure whether I was like happy with that, but sort of coming back to it, with the fresh set of eyes, I am actually sort of reasonably happy with it. And when we do sort of move up to there, maybe sort of need to sort of tone that down a bit, but just by adding in, I think, a few more sort of like little bits of browns like we did last time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to continue working our way down, just to sort of bring everything into the area that we've already completed. So we've already started adding our layers there, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually start around there and then work our way across. So the pencil I'm going to use is, just bear with me, I can't see the colour of this one. I think it might be Nougat. Yes, that's right, it is the Nougat. Right. So it is lighter around this area here, but what I want to do is I want to sort of bring this Nougat around into it some more. We did sort of a light section sort of challenge there, but what I can see is it sort of comes around about there, and then there's kind of like a lip that goes in. So it's going to be, it'll be darker underneath and then lighter on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Van Dyke brown, and I'm just going to mark in a small area of shadow just there as a marker for it. So light pressure, so we're going to use the same pressure all the way through until I sort of mention otherwise. Just bringing that down there, and then we want to sort of come out around there, I think. Yeah, so it sort of comes in around about there. It's just going very lightly on this. And then I'm just going to bring that around. So that needs to sort of stop about round there. So I'm going to use the Van Dyke brown just to sort of, plot that in around there. Because with this part, I'm just lightly sort of sketching that in, just so that we can use that as a guide. Right, so we've got that there. We've got a little bit there. I just want to sort of make sure that we've got that right texture coming in. got. So you can sort of see I'm not doing harsh lines like we would do if we were just doing line art. What I'm actually doing is I'm just sketching that part in. Yeah, and then just a little bit up there, I think, as well. So what I've done for this is I've actually zoomed in on my reference photo just so that I can see it a bit better. Right, okay, so now that we've got that in, we can continue. Okay. Right, so let's finish off around here. Oh, hang on. I can just see. That's it, I did add a little bit there. Like that. Oh, just need to put in my personal block in so I don't get no notifications, and sorry I'd forgotten about that. Okay. Right, so let's continue with the nougat. So then that sort of comes in, goes out around there. I've put this in a pencil extender so that my hand's not in the way. Although it is a bit too long to go in one, but it's kind of like not in that really kind of like good spot yet where it's too long to be out of an extender and a bit too short just to be sort of in my hand. So yeah. Okay. And so definitely want that. In like there. Let me just bring that in there. So at the moment these lines are like really standing out, but they'll settle in once we've got everything else in place. And added in all the rest of our tonal values. So let's just get that Van Dyke brown in again. Okay. So what I'm actually doing here is where we've marked out with the Van Dyke brown, I'm actually just blending that now in with the nougat that we've just added. Right, back in with the nougat. So we got that bit, then we got that bit, and now we're just coming down. That's right, just want to make sure that I've got that in the right area. So I can add the nougat into there. And we're just coming in with that round circular movement there as well, just to make it a more seamless. And you can see where we've added all the under layers, and we're sort of just working on those topmost layers at the moment, that we're working on a surface now where there's like the tooth's been filled in. And that's because also that we're in a smaller area. So I've got that bit. Let's get that Van Dyke brown. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with that light rust Derwent drawing, because that seems to sort of work really well when it comes to creating highlights in this brown section. Okay. So we've got that bit there. Okay, so just around this part with the light rust. And I'm going to use the nougat just to go over that a bit more. Just to make it more natural looking. And then we've also need to add a bit more along here. And then I'm going to use the light rust again. And then bring in that nougat around that. And a bit of Van Dyke brown. So with the Van Dyke brown, it sort of creates more shadow to it. And it lets the highlight stand out a lot more. And then just a little bit here. And then a bit more with the Van Dyke brown. And then the light rust. Like that. Van Dyke brown. So I just want to make that bit ever so slightly darker. Okay, right. Just going to use the light, fast, warm earth. Just to sort of bring that down there. And then with that light rust, just make it slightly lighter on the top. I do love these pencils. Sorry, I went a bit quiet again. I keep on doing that. I do love these Derwent drawing pencils. They're just so creamy. So I'm just moving that up there. And then the nougat, just going to bring down here because this bit is flat looking on the reference photo. I think maybe this, I don't, actually no, it'd be fine. Going to go in with a bit of the Van Dyke brown, I think. Like all the other close-ups I've ever done, you know, we are sort of purely focusing on this area, so you're literally going to see everything, but depending on what you're drawing and how big it's going to be, you wouldn't sort of normally see this amount of focus on it. But I'm just sort of showing you the you know, the form on it. Let's try the warmer 5%. Just to get a bit more colour on that. Okay, so I can see that that's a bit too big, so I just want that to sort of come in around there. And then that So we can sort that out anyway. And I'm going to use the brownish beige. And then we're going to come in and bring that down around here. So I think that's actually bringing in the colour just right. I think that's a really good mixture of the colour. Okay, so I'm going to leave out the nougat for the moment because I think this is going to be much better. Yeah, the tonal values on that's much better. And then let's highlight, well, sort of add in our contrast there. Like that. So this is the Van Dyke brown. So we just got that sort of flatter look. Right. Just want to get that sepia in around there. Just want to make that a bit darker. And then the warmer 5%. I think that needs to sort of come into there a bit more because it's not so bright. Just toning down that lightness. And then let's go in with a bit of the brownish beige. And I think, yeah, that looks a lot more like it. So we want that to end about there. And then I'm swapping out the warm earth to the natural brown. Just to sort of bring that through there slightly. And just a little bit on there, ever so lightly. And I'm just going over the top of this ever so light pressured again, just to make that less bright. I think that looks a lot better. Right, let's continue around here. So got that Van Dyke brown. Yeah, that needs to come over. Just this bit needs to come over a bit more. I'm going to sharpen the natural brown. Ouch. Right. So we need more shadow coming over here. And this is what comes of like adding sort of darker shades around here. So we've still got actually, let's go in with the Mars black. So we've still got that crease there. So we've got that line. Actually, let's come in with that around there with the natural brown. Just want to make sure I've got this right. And then we've got just using that Mars black just to get that sharper crease in. And I'm going to use the brownish beige just to sort of lighten that across there slightly. And then I'm going to go over that with the Van Dyke brown. And then that comes down, excuse me, about there. Okay, so I need it to add a little bit of depth. So the natural brown, just going to build it up in there. And then from the crease, it's darker, then sort of comes out lighter. And then just use that brownish beige. Still part of the shadow, but it's a lighter part of it. Okay. Just another quick drink. Right, so just going to work on this bit before we continue down there. I just want to sort of start bringing that naturally down. So we have we've got that natural sort of crease sort of coming down there. Just want to build around here with the natural brown, just to sort of, it brings out that highlight a bit more. And of course this area is quite bumpy, so adding the shadow around the highlights sort of brings that out a bit more. Okay, so we need to build this up a bit more, so let's come in with that Van Dyke brown. And we've got, so although we've got that, we've got that coming in as well. I'm just going to build a bit around there. So don't be worried about getting every single fine, fine piece of detail in. We're not going for photorealism here. We're just making sure. This is to teach you all about your colour pencil technique. Yes, we want it to look like the drawing, but it's not, like I say, it's not like photorealistic. That's not sort of the goal here. We want realism, but not photorealism. Right, just going to use the brownish beige. I may need to sort of sharpen this a bit later, but I think we're okay for the time being. So this is just a small layer, just to fill in that tooth a bit more. And now we're going to use the Van Dyke brown. Just want to work on this little bit here. And then this part is going to be light around here, so we just need to build up that darker area around it. So we're just going lightly backwards and forwards with this Van Dyke brown. And yeah, just a bit in there. And this part is a bit darker as well, but not too dark. So what we're doing at the moment is we're just building up the form of the, that snout area. Okay, let's just use that brownish beige. Just going to blend that over slightly for our layers. Okay, and just going to use that natural brown on that side. And just very, very lightly here. So at the moment it's very light in tone there, but I'm just using this natural brown for the slight sort of shadow area that we've got there. And then I'll go in with the Van Dyke brown. Just round circular movement there with the pencil. So we just want very light pressure here. Okay, and now I'm just going to, before we carry on working on there, I just want to sort of bring in the Van Dyke brown. And then, actually, where's that? So we've got the light rust, where I'm just gonna bring in a bit of that highlight. And then the Van Dyke brown around it. And slightly into it. Just to sort of build that in. So I'm just building up this part as well. I think what we are going to need to do is really sort of build up our different tones of brown, and then it's going to need to show all of the highlights and all of the shadows, so that, you know, it's popping a bit more. So I just want to work up here a minute. So this is the rust, the light rust, sorry. I know it's going to look different once we start sort of adding everything in. It's just that trusting the process, like I tell everyone about. Right, I just want to build this up a bit more. We've got just light rust on the edge there. If you need to sharpen your pencil, then do that. And then just going to make it look a lot more natural looking. Just by building up that Van Dyke brown on the top. I think what it's going to do is that we just need to sort of just keep building around here and balancing up the colour. But we just need to watch that we don't muddy the surface. Right, let's go with that warm grey, sorry, not warm grey, warmer 5%. Just around there. Actually, let's just bring that around there as well. I'm not pressing hard with this. I'm just going over the same area. So then we've got that bit that sort of comes around there and joins up with that lighter area. Okay, and let's get that Van Dyke brown in the middle there. Okay, I think that's looking much better. And also with these highlights, we want it to look a bit warm as well. So I think between this one and the light rust, I think this is the way to go about doing it. It's learning as you go along. And then of course that's a bit bright. That needs to be built up, but we won't worry about that at the moment. And then I'm going to use the Van Dyke brown a bit more. Okay. Right, so let's just build around here. And I'm going to go on top with the brownish beige. I want a bit of warmth on that. Just using the Van Dyke brown a bit here. Needs to be slightly darker under here. Let's go in with that warmer 5%. I think once we've got everything in place, we can sort of see what we need to be doing with it. Because that's a bit light around there as well. So let's... I think it's because some of the areas are a bit off, and I think it's throwing it out a bit. So yeah, this is the Van Dyke brown I'm using here for that. So I think that's looking better for that. It has got some lightness there, which I'm going to use the warmer 5% for. Yeah, that's working well. So then we've got this part. So I just need to work on the form around there. So let's go with the warmer on the Derwent Light Fast range. So we're just going over the other layer that we'd laid down previously. Not pressing heavily. I just want that to look slightly warmer, and then I'm going to go on top of that with the Van Dyke brown. So it just gives it a slightly different shade. So that is going to be darker there. And yeah, where is it? This is the light rust. And then of course coming around here, it's slightly darker, and it's kind of like along a spine a bit. So we don't want to lose that structure. I'm just lightly sketching that in. So that's where the lighter area is going. I'm just going to sharpen this brownish beige. Oh, that's getting really short, that is. Okay. Right. So I'm in my flow now. It's just putting this brownish beige over the top. So I think what I think is going to be better, because you know things sort of change as you're going along, is work around, add the form there, and then the shading on top, which is kind of what we're doing anyway, because I plotted out where that shadow bit's going to be, so we can just sort of go over the top of that. So then we've got that. This is Van Dyke Brown, the darker edge at the top. And of course it's going to be lighter on there anyway. Let's just sharpen this just to sort of see what it's going to look like. This is the light ochre. Okay, so another diorama drawing, which is the light ochre. And I'm just going to, yeah, so it's just going to sort of come in around there like that. Yeah, so that's kind of like done a bit more with it. And then of course we'll add some more around there. So I'm happy with that. So those diorama drawings do go really well. So I'm just going to darken up around where I've added that. So don't try not to sort of go over those lines. And then it sort of just carries on around there. Then I'm just going to go in and lightly add that Van Dyke Brown. So you can see the Van Dyke Brown looks different depending on what the colour is that's underneath it. Right. So we've got that part. I don't want it to sort of, so although it's, we're using only a few sort of select colours, it's actually looking a lot better, I think. So just coming in underneath that part. So let's go for the warm earth a moment. So that sort of comes in. And goes through there. When there's a lot of detail in in a specific area that we're working on, sometimes it can be difficult to sort of try and pick it up. So what you're seeing on the screen looks like a load of raised highlights, but what we can do is we can just sort of naturally, with the Van Dyke brownish, just tone them down a bit, but then we still got them shining through. So if I can see if you can see that better than what you've... Oh, let's just... So rather on that, where it sort of looks, you've got the light shining on it, you can see, I don't know if you can sort of see that properly, see the light shines on it a bit. It's just the angle light of the overhead light that does that. Okay, so I'm going to use the natural brown in between, like those highlights that we've added in, and I just want to sort of naturally sort of bring that together before we move on any further. And again, this looks different in front of me than it does on that screen, so yeah, I think it, it's safe to say that it's the overhead light that does it. So don't worry too much if yours is looking slightly different from what mine is. It's going to anyway, because we may have slightly different materials, different surface, but also, I mentioned this a few times, that people use different pressure, everyone's different, so following the same sort of tutorial, you're going to have loads of different outcomes anyway, because people have got different styles. So just bringing darker values around the right hand side of this area, because that's the way the light's got it. And I mean, once we've got this part done, then the rest is going to be very quick. It's just this part that's with all the detail. It's got like it's going to be a lot slower. So I just want to bring this across a bit more. And I think it needs to be a lot smaller as well. So again, this is one of those things where dark's dark, light's lighter. And again, this is a lovely brand of pencil as well, so if you get the chance to get one of these or some of these, they're really good, but it's not essential. So just coming into here a bit more. Just bringing this down. Okay, so we will leave it there for this session. So we have got a fair bit done. We've gone over and you know, gone over the section that we've already done, just to sort of balance as we're coming through. So we're going to continue down on this part next time round. I reckon we'll end up getting that part finished, and we may be able to sort of make a start around this area as well. So not long now until this bit's complete, and then we can sort of carry on and move up and finish the rest of the horse's nose. So I'll see you in part 6.